By the time the night shift realized something was wrong, the entire west wing of the Crestview Psychiatric Center had fallen silent. And in the middle of that silence sat patient 12, Evan Marlow, alone on his cot, staring at the ceiling as if he'd been waiting for something. Hours earlier, he had calmly told the staff that 3 people would die before sunrise. They laughed it off. Now only 2 hours remained until morning, and one prediction had already come true. Crestview sat on the outskirts of Billings, Montana, an old brick facility built in the 1960s, surrounded by flat, empty fields that carried every whisper of wind straight through the halls. The place was constantly humming, flickering lights, rattling vents, and the uneven tap of shoes on linoleum. But tonight, the building felt heavier, claustrophobic, as if listening. Evan had been admitted 3 months earlier after claiming he could hear endings. He never acted violent, never raised his voice. He simply watched people, and sometimes told them the exact moment they would die. The staff documented it as delusion, coincidental. But recently, the predictions had become too accurate, too specific. 2 days ago, Evan had told Nurse Hadley she wouldn't make it to Thursday. She died in a sudden car accident the next morning. The remaining staff refused to acknowledge the connection, but they also avoided Evan's room. Everyone except Jeremy Dalton, a 32-year-old night orderly who didn't believe in anything supernatural. Jeremy thought Evan was manipulating fear, playing a game. Tonight, he stayed on duty just to prove it. At 1:17 a.m., Evan predicted again, this time calmly telling Jeremy that someone on the West Wing was already gone. Jeremy brushed it off, but 30 minutes later, a staff member failed to answer her radio. They found her collapsed in the supply room, no injuries, no struggle, just gone. Panic finally set in. The building changed after that. Each hallway felt colder, like the heat had been pulled out of the air. Doors that had been locked were suddenly open. The security monitors glitched with static. It was as if the entire ward was holding its breath. Jeremy went back to Evan's room, trying to pry some explanation from him. Evan didn't speak. He just stared at the ceiling with a faint, eerie calm, like someone quietly listening to music only he could hear. The silence around him felt unnatural, the kind that absorbs sound instead of echoing it. By 3:40 a.m., Jeremy was the only one still checking rooms. The others had gathered near the exit, too terrified to walk alone. But Jeremy kept moving, trying to disprove a man he refused to fear. The cameras caught his last movements, walking into the hallway outside Evan's door, then stopping abruptly like he'd heard someone whisper his name. Jeremy never came back out. When the sun finally rose, Evan was sitting exactly where he had been, calm, expressionless. He looked at the guards who found him and said only one thing: there will be more. To this day, the cause of the deaths remains undetermined, and Evan Marlow has never been wrong.